Welcome back. We want to call your attention to Tarpley.net. Tarpley.net. Keep up with everything on Tarpley.net. 3 big essays up in the past week, 10 days. 1, letter to Congress, what Congress should do about the debt ceiling and default question. Number 2, why the president must invoke the 14th Amendment, that the debt ceiling is intrinsically unconstitutional and must be swept away by the Article 4 of the 14th Amendment. The public debt of the United States authorized by law shall not be questioned. That's where the buck stops. If nobody else is willing to defend the public debt, Obama tells Geithner, start Treasury auctions, pay the debt. No bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is illegal. Default, bankruptcy, welshing, deadbeat is illegal, unconstitutional, a federal crime. And the president has to take care that the laws be faithfully enforced. And then finally, since Obama wouldn't do that, but the 14th Amendment did become quite widely known, it was possible at the end to say, once that Satan sandwich with the Satan fries came out, vote against it, Tea Party, vote against it, Progressive Dems, vote against it, everybody. No super committee, no 12 tyrants on the one side for the Tea Party. If you don't, vote against it, let him use the 14th Amendment, then you can impeach him. Go ahead. That's fine. Try to. See where it gets you. And then on the other side for the Progressive Dems, this guy's been selling you out. Teach him a lesson. Veto his savage austerity of genocide by cutting the entitlements. Stop all that. Prevent Obama from selling you out and betraying you yet again. And that'll force him to pay more attention to his Democratic base rather than the Malthusian independents that he thinks are the vital force of American politics. I mean, talk about an elitist, a foundation-funded snob who is full of contempt for American working people. So that was the idea. Good reasons for everybody to vote against the Satan sandwich. Some of them did, some of them didn't. You can judge yourself, your local official. And then the other thing is, if you've got Tea Party people who are angry about Obama, you want to get even. If you're in the Tea Party and you felt that you were shortchanged, get Obama on the Libya issue. Get him with cutting off the funding for the Libya war. You're only 15 votes away from that. And if he tries to buck you, then go ahead and impeach him for that, too. That would be active, healthy politics. But coming back now to the question of the crisis that's going on now, the aftermath, if you will, of taking the United States to the brink of default and bankruptcy. What it really shows is markets don't get along by themselves, people. Markets require government regulation and supervision. And the bedrock of every market in the world is the U.S. public debt, the U.S. Treasury bond, and the U.S. dollar, and all the illusions about BRICS and other people taking the role of reserve currency. It's not easy to do. You need something like the U.S. Treasury market, as I've pointed out in some interviews. One of the reasons that the U.S. economy is vulnerable now is that the Obama-Pelosi stimulus is over. The Obama-Pelosi stimulus was not good, terribly flawed, not anywhere near as big as it needed to be, not good, not effective, not shovel-ready, but there it was, and it was $1 trillion, and it did have some effect. That is largely ending. I have here the local pages of the Washington Post. Jobs program begins to wind down. District summer job program has gotten smaller this year. That's because the stimulus is ending. So all kinds of people who would have benefited from the stimulus. The other thing is for the finance oligarchs, the QE2 came to an end at the end of June and has not been replaced. And the European Central Bank, our dear friend Trichet, the incompetent, the bungler, he stopped buying bonds 4 months ago. A couple of other things that have happened. Since this fear is so great, everybody, as a result of the U.S. going to the brink, there's no other way to explain it, right? Why did the fear get to be so great? People thought that the U.S. might go bankrupt because of these extortionists in the Congress. Everybody wanted to get into absolute safety, and since that was no longer the the Treasury bond, because that might have defaulted, they began putting it in these custodial banks. Custodial banks are basically, in this country, J.P. Morgan Chase and Bank of New York Mellon. And they were loading up with cash to the point where they not only did they not want to pay interest, but they were actually charging a fee. Bank of New York Mellon this week told large commercial customers who wanted to keep large amounts of cash in the accounts that they would go from 0% to you have to pay a fee to do that. Part of that, I think, is also it's an attempt to nudge them out and into possibly the commercial paper market, assuming that is seizing up. But the main question now is not return on capital. The main question now is return of capital. Money market funds are getting tight. You can still borrow in money market funds, but the maturities have been getting shorter and shorter. The average maturity in a money market fund in the United States has gone from 34 days to 2.5 days. And all of this is less than 270 days, but it's now getting to be practically overnight. It simply shows the fear that's going on. Central Falls, Rhode Island, has gone bankrupt. This shows that the threat right now is to civilization itself, because when the city government goes bankrupt, sanitation, police, fire, lighting, basic ambulance services, all of this is in danger. It is therefore imperative that the federal government step up to the plate with revenue sharing for locations like this. And don't tell us that the cause of this is gold-plated pensions for public workers. That is simply a typical Koch brothers divide and conquer strategy. So this is now the crisis. As I pointed out in my ANSA interview, my interview with Stefania Limiti of Chiare Lettere, the blog, and possibly in another interview that might show up still in the mid-August period, what these countries have got to do, Italy, Spain, ban credit default swaps, all of them, illegal. Secondly, slap a Tobin tax on speculators, essentially on all financial transactions over a certain exclusion per person, say $1 million, so that you're not hitting somebody who's really trading for their own account. And the third thing, raid the ratings agencies. Do what Kennedy did to Roger Blau. Get your legal machinery going against ongoing criminal conspiracies that are trying to dictate policy to you. And that actually brings me to one thing I wanted to point out. I'm going to defend here the United States against a couple of critiques. Putin says the United States is a parasite. No, this is wrongly put. Wall Street is a parasite, but there is still a U.S. economy out here, which has, I think, significant value for the world. If you like eating, you better realize that the U.S. is not a complete parasite, because the entire world food market depends on U.S. grain production, U.S. corn production, and related things. Those are a critical component of the entire world food situation, and calling that a parasite, I think, goes way too far. There's also a biomedical industry here. There's also some other stuff that goes on that is important, right? Remember, we're the ones who cracked the genome 10 years ago down at Celera Genomics here in the Maryland suburbs of Washington, D.C. We've also got the Dagang ratings agency of China downgrading the U.S. from A plus to A on the level of Estonia and Russia. No, sorry, boys. You better think again on that, too. We'll be back in a minute.